A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
I know it's me. I'm trying to turn it off.
Electronics are not really his forte. The man has one job: turn the fucking thing off. And that's too difficult to do.
All right. Welcome into the program. It is a fantastic start to a Tuesday. It's the Sportsocracy. Follow us on all the social medias at the Sportsocracy. Like, share, and follow. Be sure to check out the link to the merch store as well. The link is in the description of this video and every video that we do. We appreciate everybody tuning in with us this morning. Your involvement in the program always encouraged. Be sure to throw us a comment. Tell us what you'd like to hear talked about on this morning. Morning, Tank and Dumb Guy. Okay, morning. How you doing? I don't know.
That's one of the people that I got in their feelings yesterday because I said, Christian McCaffrey's not as good as you think he is.
I think he is.
My Twitter mentions yesterday were hilarious.
He is as good as everybody thinks he is. He's just
not as important as you think he is.
There you go. Just not as important to a championship makeup of a team.
Christian McCaffrey's like having a Maserati in front of a double wide. Sorry.
Weird that it is. He plays in Charlotte. Seen a lot of that around the area.
It's like having a Maserati in front of a double wide.
Oh, welcome into the show. I'd like to get into on the show today. We've got the Big Ten. Apparently now we do know that there was a vote, and we know what the vote count was.
There was a vote. Sure there was. I believe you.
At least that's what they're saying.
I believe you. It's kind of like I believed Bill Clinton when he said, "I did not inhale." Sure you did, Bill. Just held it in your mouth for a minute. Okay.
He had lots of things in his mouth.
Not in his mouth.
Touche.
I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning, so I am firing on all cylinders.
Ready and raring to go.
Tank's been up for about 11 minutes.
I have. It was a rough start to the Tuesday.
Yeah, Tank came pulling in here like Bo Duke at about 8:40.
That was one of those things. You fall asleep and your phone's not plugged up, and then the phone dies. Wake up in the middle of the night, you plug the phone back in, but it didn't turn the phone back on. Wake up and see daylight and go, holy shit, we gotta go.
I fell asleep while the sun was still up yesterday.
Wow.
On my couch. I woke up at 5:30 this morning and went, okay, this is new.
It's a whole new schedule for you.
Not used to being up when the sun comes up. Kind of dig it, though.
You do? Mm-hmm. You think this is going to be a normal routine?
I feel fantastic.
You going to go to bed at 8 o'clock like an old geezer?
Well, no. Because too many things I enjoy happen after the sun goes down. But I do really enjoy this whole, I'm up and clicking on all cylinders, and I've already had 3 cups of coffee. And
right, as I'm texting this morning, overslept, I'm on the way, guys. Jeremy's like, nah, I'm already here. And I'm going, what the kind of world are we living in? This is Bizarro Tuesday.
The problem is I didn't drink last night, and that's not going to be a consistent thing.
Okay. I don't think that's a problem. I think that's actually possibly a solution.
You sound like my sponsor and my lawyer and
and all of your ex-wives.
Makes it more likely I'm not going to listen.
So apparently there was a vote in the Big Ten thanks to the lawsuit that was filed by the 8 Nebraska players and their representation. We are starting to get some more documents come out from the Big Ten commissioner's office, from the from the head offices there. And there was a vote. We had 3 teams, not 2 teams, 3 teams that voted to have a fall season. So we'll give you the details on that, as well as the Major League Baseball trade deadline. If your team is not named the San Diego Padres, your team didn't do a whole lot. The Padres just blew everybody else out of the water, and I think that's going to have a sizable, I guess we can say sizable impact on the race there in the National League.
If a trade happens in Major League Baseball and nobody's there to hear it, does it really actually happen?
It does. It does happen because even those close, near, and dear to your heart got traded in the trade deadline. So we'll give you, again, the details on that coming up. And then, of course, last night in the NBA, we have another Game 7 on the schedule. The Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City getting 15 points in the fourth quarter last night from Chris Paul, their leader. Dear leader Paul.
If you listened to me yesterday and you threw down some doubloons, you're welcome.
You had a pretty good day. The Greene on Greene segment and the Sports Tank with Jeremy Greene every weekday afternoon at 3 o'clock on ESPN Asheville. Jeremy helps you out with his betting picks for the night. And yes, he was a 3-1 night last night. So he came in, he didn't even know it either because he went to bed so early. His clock and his math were all thrown off. I had to clue him in that he actually did go 3-1 last night. But we had the Thunder beat the Rockets, and then the first game of the Eastern Conference semifinal between the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks, it looked like the Milwaukee Bucks didn't know what was going on. They got down to crunch time. Well, it wasn't just crunch time. It was pretty much the entire game. They looked like they did in the Orlando Magic, that first game of that series. They did not know how to go at this team, and they did not know how to hold on to the ball.
There are two things that can beat Milwaukee. What are they?
Two things that can beat Milwaukee? Great three-point shooting and shutting down Giannis.
Miami has both.
Uh-huh.
I don't see a path that the Miami Heat don't win this series. I'm trying not to overreact. But I said yesterday, and I didn't even go down the rabbit hole as far as I wanted to. Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder, who am I forgetting?
Andre
Iguodala. They have three of the best wing defenders in the NBA. Who are the two best players for the Milwaukee Bucks?
You got Giannis and Chris Middleton.
Mm-hmm. Those guys are going to defend them for the bulk of the game, and it showed. They let Chris Middleton get his.
Mm-hmm.
He went 12 of 24 from the field. Giannis can't get to the basket. And they showed yesterday, he went 4 of 12 from the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
They showed this is how you beat them. You put a wall around the basket and you don't let Giannis get to it. And I don't see what's going to change about that.
I don't.
And if he gets to the basket, you got Bam Adebayo waiting down there.
Right. They are a really good defensive team. And their three-point shooting, I think, is the one thing that gives them the big advantage in this game.
And here's the crazy part. They
series.
Didn't even shoot well from three. They shot 38%.
They didn't, but they did make 12.
Okay. They shot 38%.
That's kind of the basement. But that's kind of the basement of what they can
That's
do.
what I'm saying.
Right.
This is not going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You have two of the three best three-point shooters in the NBA that went a combined 4 of 10 last night. Which is fine, but nobody else could do anything from three.
I don't think you're going to see another game like this from Giannis. I really don't. I really don't think that you're going to see a game where Giannis is only taking 12 shots.
Okay, well, how did they get beat last year? How did they get beat in the playoffs last year?
How? Remind me.
The Toronto Raptors beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they put Pascal Siakam on Giannis Antetokounmpo and said, you beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. They let Middleton do whatever the hell he wanted to do. And it wasn't enough. If Giannis can't get to the basket, they can't win. Period.
Mm-hmm.
There's no magic formula here. And I got news for you. Jimmy Butler's not going to become worse of a defender overnight. Been one of the best defenders in the NBA for the better part of a decade.
Right.
He's not all of a sudden going to forget how to play defense. Andre Iguodala, same thing. Jay Crowder, same thing.
Agreed.
And they can't take – now, the one thing I will say, Eric Bledsoe didn't play last night.
Mm-hmm.
And the one place you can really take advantage of the Heat is at point guard. Because you've either got Hero or Goran Dragic playing the one. That's a place – Eric Bledsoe is going to have to be the second best player on this team in this series. And I don't think that's enough to beat them.
It may not be enough to beat them. I thought coming into this series that was a real challenge for them. That one, Miami's defense was going to be a problem, and the three-point shooting. I mean, Milwaukee is a team that gives up the most three-pointers in the NBA.
Because that's how they play a funnel defense.
Right.
If you try to get to the basket, they are going to shut you down.
Right. And
the Heat don't have to do that.
Right. And the only thing that Miami has to do is chill out there on the perimeter and fire them up.
Think
And-
about the 9 guys that played last night. How many of them make their living scoring inside? It's one. It's Adebayo. That's it. And he dominated Brook Lopez. Didn't score a ton of points, but he had 17 rebounds. That's all they need from him.
Yeah.
They need you to be a good shot blocker, which he didn't have any blocks last night, but didn't really matter. Because Jimmy Butler did a good enough job of keeping Giannis away from him. I don't see how this series is going to change.
I think they're going to they're really going to rely on Tyler Hero and
Duncan Robinson.
to fire up the threes. If they get into trouble and something happens, other guys' games are not on, they can rely on those 2 guys to get them open from 3-point range. And not
it's
every
the
time
weakness of the way Milwaukee plays. And here's something that I've been thinking about, and this is what I was thinking about yesterday when I said I picked Miami in the money line. Straight out said they were going to win.
Right.
And got laughed at. Who's laughing now? But beside that point, the Heat can beat you a lot of different ways. The thing about them is that I don't think they can win a title. Don't get me wrong. But what I started thinking about with Milwaukee is, okay, so you've got Kawhi and Paul George out west, LeBron and AD out west, even Harden and Westbrook. The 2 in Milwaukee is Chris Middleton, who's good. He's not as good as people give him credit for, but he's good. I don't think that's good enough to win a title. And I'll be honest with you. I said yesterday, I see a path where Giannis Antetokounmpo is not in Milwaukee a year from now. He becomes free agent after next year.
Yep.
Is there part of him looking around right now going, I don't know what more we could do?
Yes.
Because you're not bringing anybody to Milwaukee.
Yes.
Nobody with choices is going to go, yeah, let me go to Milwaukee. You ever been to Milwaukee?
No.
It's cold as shit. All the time.
Yeah.
And it's Milwaukee.
And it's Milwaukee. Yeah.
It never gets away from its Milwaukee-ness.
cheese.
It's a lot like Cleveland.
Cheese and pretzels and beer. That's
On Cleveland's best day, Cleveland is still Cleveland. Milwaukee has the same problem. And I think he looks around after last night and goes, I can't have a bad night and we win. Because last night he had a bad night.
Yep.
Turned the ball over too much. Couldn't shoot from the free throw line, which is a consistent problem with him. And he can't make a mid-range jumper.
How do you
he has
airball?
to have a second. He has to have a second star to win.
How do you airball free throws? As a professional basketball player, how do you airball free throws?
I'd be lying if I said I never did it.
Okay.
And I was a real good free throw shooter.
No. I don't know. It seems like a recurring thing with Giannis that he has these games where he just airballs free throws. It's like, you do this so much. Why is this such a problem?
This has always been people like me. Our problem with Giannis is I can't really get behind a star that can't shoot. I can't wrap my head around how a guy is going to be the best player on a championship team when he can't shoot. Because he's no threat. Miami and Toronto in consecutive years have, in one game, shown the way to beat this team. Make Middleton do it. Make Brook Lopez do it. Make the ancillary pieces do it, and they can't win.
Could you imagine this Miami team with Giannis?
That's the scary thing, is that's where I think he actually would go.
Right.
Because they're going to have max cap space next year, too.
Because with Jimmy Butler, this team is already a force.
And they've just drafted well.
Right.
This is what happens when you have an executive like Pat Riley. They find guys like Duncan Robinson. I'll give you $1,000 cash right now if you can tell me where Duncan Robinson went to school.
Michigan, wasn't it?
It was Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made that up. But here's the thing. He was the 5th best player on that team. He was the worst of the starters at Michigan.
Yep.
But what did Pat Riley see?
His three-point shooting.
He looked at him when he's an incredible three-point shooter. All we have to do is get him open, and he's a great three-point shooter. This is a guy that nobody really had a lot of. He's a better NBA player than he was college player.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
And it's not close.
He is.
Because he fits the NBA better than he fit in college.
Yeah. He's one of those anomalies.
And that's what Pat Riley has done forever.
But that's what they're missing. Miami is missing one giant superstar piece to turn this back into a championship contender. And Giannis, there's no way that Giannis can't see that.
Agreed. Double or nothing on Kendrick Nunn.
Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah, where'd he go?
Oh, God. Marquette. Oakland. Oh, he was a Grizzly.
Yeah.
Nice. There was another guy that went to Oakland and came into the league.
There's been a few.
He was a little point guard. Why's his name escaping me? He was really good. He went to Cleveland.
Oh,
Drafted by Cleveland. Darius something. No. Anyway, Darius Garland maybe?
No, Darius Garland went to Vanderbilt.
Now that's going to irritate me all day. I hate it when I do that. Anyway.
Tyler Hero is a beast too. But here's the thing. This is what they did. They figured out our best two players. Jimmy Butler's a defensive force that doesn't necessarily move the ball that well.
Mm-hmm.
But you know he can get to the rim. Bam Adebayo is always a risk to get to the rim, and he can shoot from the mid-tier. So what did Pat Riley do? Let's load up three-point shooters. This team's built to beat Milwaukee.
Yep.
Literally, they built this team to beat Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if it was intentionally or not, but I do feel like Giannis has to look at this and go, we're in trouble. And I'm really trying not to overreact. I still think Milwaukee's the better team. I don't know that they can beat this team.
We're definitely in trouble if I play the way I played.
And I don't know how it's going to get any better because he doesn't get a break.
Mm-hmm.
So Budenholzer doesn't even have the ability to get him away from elite defenders. All right, Jimmy Butler sits down. Okay, now you got to go against Jay Crowder, who has shown a propensity to really piss off star players.
Mm-hmm.
Giannis has already shown a propensity to get mad.
Yep.
And so, I mean, what do you do? I mean, what's the solution here?
I don't know.
Having Eric Bledsoe will help. When he comes back,
Right.
that will help. Don't get me wrong.
If he gets too aggressive, he runs the risk of getting in foul trouble. And if he's not on the floor at all,
They're screwed.
There's no way that they can make it work without him. I just feel, he said it in the post-game press conference last night. Like, you look at it and you see a guy of my caliber taking 12 shots and you think you got to be more aggressive. And maybe you're right. And I think he understands. He understands there's no way that we can move forward in these playoffs and reach the top of our potential if I'm taking 12 shots in a night.
Agreed.
And it's up to him to figure out how to get there. I mean, the guy figures out how to get to the basket in more ways than just about anybody else I can remember in the NBA. I mean, there was one play last night where he was at the three-point line, took 3 steps, and he was at the rim, reaching over everyone.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a force and such a beast that he's got to figure out a way to make that happen more often. And that's just going to be on. It's going to be on him. And yes, as you said, when Bledsoe comes back, that's going to be a key for them.
I want to talk about the other game.
You want to talk about the
I want
other
to talk about the other game.
He wants to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder because the Houston Rockets.
I told you on this show yesterday the Rockets are not as good with Russell Westbrook on the floor.
Yes.
And last night he showed why.
Yes.
Because he cannot stop turning the ball over.
7 turnovers last night for Russell Westbrook, and that was the downfall. That was the major key in the game.
You literally can't live by the three the way they do. They shot 34% from three, shot 44 threes. Mm-hmm. You cannot play that way and turn the ball over. You have to get shots at the basket. If you're going to play this way, you can't have empty possessions because you're never going to consistently shoot more than 40% from three, ever. So when you start giving away empty possessions, it absolutely kills your ability to win. I understand this game was close. I understand it took Chris Paul having a Herculean fourth quarter. I get it. They're going to lose this series. They are going to lose in Game 7 to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I don't know about that.
I do.
The chip is so great on their shoulders that I feel like there's a reckoning coming.
Yeah, here's the
Game
thing.
7.
Lugens Dort, who's been the guy to shut down James Harden, was in foul trouble for the vast majority of this game.
Mm-hmm.
He only played 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They still lost. They don't have to have him to shut down James Harden. Because see what happens when you put in Westbrook and you take the ball out of Harden's hands, you neuter him to a point. This is two guys that have to have the ball in their hand. This has been the problem with this team all year long. Mm-hmm. And I keep hearing about, they'd be a risk to the Lakers. The Lakers would beat them like a kettle drum.
They would.
The Lakers are sitting back praying, please God let Houston win this series. Please let them win this series. Because we will kill them. I don't think they do. I'll take the Thunder right now, not knowing the line. I'll take them straight out in the money line right now.
Yeah. I'm going to be on the other side of that because I just feel like, I'm I'm always a narrative guy. And James Harden, Russell Westbrook, they hear
Well,
all
the narrative.
of
Well,
this.
you're 7 games into the narrative. The narrative works in the regular season when it's a one-off. In a series like this, you're in a game 7. Now they have seen everything you have. You have seen everything they have. And I look at the Thunder and go, they're better. I have watched a dumb amount of this series. They're better. Their bad is worse, but their good is markedly better. And in a game 7, you're going to bring everything you've got. I don't see a team led by Chris Paul playing poorly in a game 7. And I think they have to play poorly for Houston to win.
Okay.
Houston can play a great game, still lose.
Could.
Because Russell Westbrook's not going to become a different person than he's been for the 10 years he's been in the league. He's going to turn the ball over because he's going to try to do too much. And working with, I said this the minute this trade happened. That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. And people are going to love it because, I love the from a fantasy perspective, Russell Wilson scores a ton of fantasy points. He's not a good player. He's not.
Fantasy
He will
basketball?
never.
People still play fantasy basketball?
I do. Kiss my ass.
No, I just believe, like, the chip is so great. Game 7, there's going to be, the switch flip.
Don't buy it.
Don't buy it. Okay. We'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to be a great game regardless, just like this one was.
And I think
this one
Oklahoma
came-
City and the Lakers will be a great series. I think the Lakers and Houston's over in 5. And it's never competitive. Because how in the shit are you going to defend Anthony Davis? With nobody that's within 5 inches of his height.
Agreed.
And they just destroy them.
Agreed. I don't give them any hopes for moving any further.
I heard all that
But I
Houston
think they
shit.
can take care of Oklahoma City.
I heard all that Houston shit I wanted to hear before this series. Oh, they're a threat to win a title. No, they're
Nah.
not. No, they're not. If they're a threat to win a title, the Magic were too. And guess what? They're already at home, and the Rockets are going to join them tomorrow.
Right. 104-100 was the final score. Yes, it did take 15 points in the fourth quarter from Chris Paul to get it done, but also the 7 turnovers by Russell Westbrook really
We had
helped
another
out.
5 from Harden. That's what they do.
Right.
And it doesn't line up. And when you have the 2 of them on the floor, the thing about when Westbrook shows up, Harden tries to do exactly what he does now. So, I mean, yeah, he'll have games where he turns it over more, but now you have 2 of them doing it. You can't have that many empty possessions. Not when you're planning on winning from. You live by the 3, you die by the 3.
I agree with you. That means coming up tonight, it's the other game 7, Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets. What do you think? Your Nuggets going to be able to pull it off? The 3-1 comeback?
Give me the Nuggets.
You think they figured out how to maintain Donovan Mitchell? Because
No, I think Jamal Murray's figured out I have to be the guy.
Yeah.
And when you have, here's the thing, they won night before last. Michael Porter had a terrible game from the floor. I don't see that happening again. And they figured out he needs to come off the bench. He gets lost with the starting group. He comes off the bench, and he's the spark plug. And now you've got Gary Harris who can defend Donovan Mitchell. Not saying he slowed him down, not saying he stopped him. It's 6 extra fouls that you didn't have 2 games ago.
Yep.
Give me the Nuggets. I'll take them the money line. I'll take them against the number because I guarantee you they're the dog.
Now that it's actually even, apparently.
Tells you everything you need to know.
It is even. With the over-under at 218.5. Too high, too low. Right on the money. That's
Gross.
That's the right on the money face.
By the way, Utah opened as a 1.5-point favorite. Denver's now a consensus 1-point favorite. Tells you everything you need to know.
Really?
Need smart money's on Denver.
Okay.
Lay on the Nuggets. I'm telling you right now, lay on the Nuggets.
Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz tonight at 8:30. Game 7 series all knotted up, and you just have to think about the way Jamal Murray has been playing basketball. I mean, the guy's doing things that Michael Jordan did.
This team's really, really, really good.
And do you think it's because he's that good, or is it that he's historically good, or is it just that the game in the NBA right now is not about defense?
It's a totally different game. Jamal Murray is a microwave player. He's a volume shooter. That's the way it is. The Nuggets are one of the easiest teams to figure out I have ever seen in my life. They're incredibly easy to figure out. Jokic has to be good, not great. Jamal Murray has to get shots, and teams that can keep him from getting shots can keep him from being effective. The Utah Jazz can't do that. They can't. They don't have the guy to stop him. And they have thrown everything short of the kitchen sink at him. And Royce O'Neal worked, and then they figured it out. They figured out that, that high ball screen, he can't get around that. And as soon as they figured that out, it became a completely different series.
Yeah. The Utah Jazz, you gave it a good fight. But I'm with Jeremy on this one. I think all of the momentum is in Denver's favor, and I can't put anything past Jamal Murray. In fact, I'm encouraging it at this point. I want to see this record fall. I want to see him be able to score 50 again. Nobody's ever done it 3 times in one series.
I don't know if he scores 50, but I think he's going to have another fantastic game. And I'll take the Nuggets to win.
Then you got the Boston Celtics this evening at 5:30 as they are going to go up in Game 2 against the Toronto Raptors. First game was not really close. It was a steady 10 to 15 point lead the entire game for the Boston Celtics, and I don't know that changes in Game 2.
Celtics plus 1.5. That line's moved half a point on the Toronto side. I disagree. But I've disagreed on Toronto the whole time.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't see it. This is playoff basketball. I understand they have depth. I understand they're talented. That shit doesn't matter in the playoffs. It matters who has stars, and Toronto doesn't. Toronto has a star. Kyle Lowry is 34 years old. Can't play 40 minutes a night, and that's what they need him to do.
You're not putting Pascal Siakam in that category yet.
I just said Pascal Siakam.
Oh, I thought you said Kyle Lowry.
No, I said they have a star, and that's Siakam.
Oh.
Kyle Lowry's older. Fred VanVleet's overrated, in my opinion. And Marc Gasol's 807 years old.
Okay. You said a star and then Kyle Lowry.
Oh, I just assumed that you would know I was talking about Siakam.
That's who I was thinking when you said a star and then you said Kyle Lowry. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, they have a star, and it's Pascal Siakam.
Gotcha. All right.
And he has to defend Jason Tatum. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Did you ask if people played fantasy baseball? I once watched Jeremy play fantasy women's softball and fantasy bowling. This was without a pandemic.
Reading the comments out loud.
Dude.
This brought to you by Reading Rainbow.
Dude. Did you seriously?
No.
Okay. All right.
He's still upset that I talked about Christian McCaffrey.
And to answer your question, no, people don't play fantasy baseball.
Basketball.
Or basketball.
Nobody plays fantasy baseball. If you play fantasy baseball, we need to have a talk.
You're in trouble.
Because that requires way, way more paying attention than any other sport does.
Yeah, I've never gotten into anything except for fantasy football. I can't make it work.
Speaking of fantasy football, we're doing so we have the Gardner Minshew draft with the ESPN show.
Right.
We will be doing a draft live from this stage. We haven't narrowed down the day yet. We got a couple options. Just got to make sure what day can the most people be here.
Right.
I will be taking Gardner Minshew number 1 overall.
Remember, we've got another one Thursday, so you can't do it Thursday night.
I can do 2 at one time.
You cannot do 2 at one time.
I've done it more than once.
Really?
I've done 3 at one time. What up?
No way. They actually counted for money?
Yeah. If my wife's in the comments, she can verify exactly what I'm getting ready to say, what I'm saying.
Jesus.
I've had 2 computers and a cell phone running at the same time.
You are insane.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference? I know exactly who I want. And you say, watch this. This is pick any 3 names in fantasy football. Any 3. I don't care where they fall.
Okay, Christian McCaffrey.
Unless I have a real high pick, I'm not going to have him.
Okay.
Stay away from the first round.
Okay, Melvin Gordon.
Out. I think Phillip Lindsay's way bigger a role, has way more of a role than people think he does.
Allen Robinson.
Out. His quarterback's Big Dick Nick. I'm out.
Malcolm Brown.
The backup running back for the Rams? What are you, high?
You said, I just wanted to test you.
What are you, high?
What?
Out.
No?
Literally, I can do that with any name in fantasy football.
Right.
I don't care how low you go.
Right.
It doesn't take a whole lot of mental composition. I take the same guys every draft I do anyway.
Do you really?
Every mock draft, every draft I've done so far, I wind up with like the same 8 guys on every team. And it happens every year. Sometimes that works. Last year was Melvin Gordon. Worked out great till the playoffs.
Yep.
Rode that right into a semifinal loss across the board.
Congratulations.
In the comments, Jerry Jeudy, all about it. I like Cortland Sutton better, but I like Jerry Jeudy, especially where he's going.
Okay.
I can do this I can do a sentence on any guy you say to me. I don't have to think about it that hard.
Christian Kirk.
God.
That's a tough one.
No, it's not a tough one. But I'm trying to say this without swearing. I love the talent, but damn it, there's too many receivers there. Kyler Murray would have to throw for 5,000 yards for that team to be fantasy relevant.
Are you expecting though that Papa Fitzgerald is going to have another good year?
Is he or is he not the greatest receiver we've ever seen?
Yes.
Okay. He's the greatest technical receiver to ever play the game. Him and Jerry Rice are the only two that are even debatable. Mm-hmm. Randy Moss was a freak athlete before anybody says it to me, and I know it's coming. Mm-hmm. In terms of route running, hands, all those things, Larry Fitzgerald's probably the greatest receiver that ever lived.
The Bucs offense, by the way, Brent, yeah.
Love Evans.
Take it.
Love Evans. Godwin's going too high. Gronk's going too low. I don't want any running back that lives or breathes and puts on a Tampa Bay Buccaneers helmet.
Yeah, that about sums it up. What about OJ? What do you do about OJ Howard?
The same thing I've done with him every year he's been in the league. Forget he's on the board and don't take him.
Really?
Gross.
Last pick, needed extra tight end.
If I'm taking a tight end late, it's Chris Herndon. I'm literally telling guys that are in a league with me exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm still going to beat you.
He said the same thing last year, and it didn't work.
Ask him how many times I beat him. He who is without sin may cast the first stone. He who is without win needs to shut the fuck up.
This isn't about head-to-head matchups. This isn't about measuring our members. This is about you giving shitty fantasy advice to people and it not working. I did the same thing with Chris Herndon last year, taking his advice, going, "Oh yeah, Chris Herndon." Yeah,
and he got hurt. You think I can control that? What do you think? What do you think? Nancy or Tanya Harding his ass?
Corey,
no.
Stop it. Larry Fitzgerald is Terrell
Owens
bitch.
doesn't belong in that conversation, and you know it.
Come on. No, sir.
Terrell Owens may be the most overrated receiver that ever lived.
Dez Bryant.
Dez Bryant's up there. He also only played like 15 minutes.
I think he was there.
Dez Bryant's NFL career lasted as long as my first two marriages. It wasn't long, and it wasn't all that impressive.
I just love the fact that it's right around the corner.
I love how Devin uses against me that he hands me a March Madness bracket 2 years ago, and I didn't win it, and all of a sudden that means I don't know what I'm talking about.
You weren't only you didn't.
The
only
guy
not
that
win
won
it, you
it.
were out in the first round. Apparently,
I wasn't out in the first round. I had just lost an Elite Eight team in the first round.
It happens.
I got news for you. You play fantasy football with me, you're going to lose more than you win, I promise.
True. That is very true. Yeah, fantasy football right around the corner. Yesterday was the Major League Baseball trade deadline. We're not going to go through trades and names and all that kind of stuff.
I was about to say, if you're going through trades, I'm going to go grab a smoke and a Diet Pepsi, and I'll be back in 5 minutes.
You can go take a little break there. To me, the big thing was the San Diego Padres. San Diego Padres are making a push. They see that for the first time in a long time, they're actually relevant. They can hopefully step up and surprise the LA Dodgers because the Dodgers are just running away with it. They made five trades before the trade deadline, and the biggest one came yesterday right before the deadline, or a couple of hours before the deadline, where they got Mike Clevenger, one of the best young pitchers in Major League Baseball, away from the Cleveland Indians.
The Indians didn't have to include Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn or Willie Mays Hayes, so I don't really care.
Very true.
Secret Time? Never seen that movie.
You're insane. Pedro Serrano, untouched as well.
I've seen parts of it, but I've never seen it all the way through.
You should definitely do that.
Which is funny because I really like Charlie Sheen, and I've still never seen that movie.
You should be investing the time. That was actually Charlie Sheen's best movie.
That's not saying much.
This is not
It was
the same
also
way.
pre-Tiger Blood, so that's a good start.
It was a close run with Men at Work, the trash movie that he did with his brother.
So it was better than Anger Management, his really shitty FX sitcom, because that was an atrocity.
I don't even remember that.
It was awful. It was the Adam Sandler movie made into a sitcom with him and Selma Blair, and Selma Blair walked off the set because she was tired of dealing with him.
Nice.
She just went, it ain't worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for somebody to look at $1 million and go, not worth it.
Right. It's hard to believe. Hard to believe that we are at the stage we are at in Major League Baseball in this 66-day season. We've hit the halfway mark. A lot of people didn't think they would even get to the halfway mark. So I think they're winning. See what I did?
Here's what's hard for me to believe. 4 minutes later, you're still talking about the Major League Baseball trade deadline.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Unfortunately, the players that were traded, their parents don't tend to watch our show, so I don't really give a shit. I like
you don't know that.
I like
you
how
don't
it
know
kept
that.
breaking on the bottom line. Like, oh, this guy was traded from the who gives a shits to the Padres, and I'm like, I don't even know who that person is.
You don't know that. You don't know that their parents aren't watching because one of your former teammates got moved at the trade deadline yet again.
My dude,
Cameron
Maben, love that guy.
Cameron Maben from right here in Asheville, North
I
Carolina.
hope he wins another ring. I'd like to see him win 10. I love the guy.
He got shipped off to the Chicago Cubs. So he is now on his, what's that make, 10 teams in the Major League Baseball? Yep. So he has officially played for a third of the league.
Yeah, that's my dude. I cared about that one. Beyond that, didn't care.
Yep.
And now I have a team to root for. Cubs fan right here.
There you go.
What up?
Chicago Cubs all the way.
My team sucks, and the Reds aren't going to make the playoffs, so my predictions are sure to go wrong.
Now, I don't think you're right about that. I really don't.
Well,
I think the Cincinnati Reds are going to make the playoffs.
Well, 48 teams make the playoffs, so, who gives a shit?
It's the same number as the NBA.
Yeah, but because baseball. You know what nobody's ever done? Watch the baseball game and gone, oh, God, I'd love to have more of that.
That's not true. It's definitely not true.
It's true for me.
Just because you've never experienced it.
I watched 8 pitches and went,
It's because you don't understand the intricacies of the game. The strategy that goes into place of picking the right pitch to get it past the hitter. It's more of a thinking man's game, so I understand why Jeremy doesn't get down on it too much.
I try to not get down on anything if at all possible, but
I'm sorry for your wife. That's unfortunate.
His explanation of baseball almost put me to sleep. That's all you need to know. He explained the intricacies, and I'm over here like,
that's fine. That's fine. Some people need that ADHD attention going thing, and some people don't. Some people can sit back and enjoy the classics. Have a nice scotch in the evening and watch a good 3-hour 9-inning ball game.
I can't get down with 3-hour anything.
Football.
Yeah, and I watch Red Zone.
Well, that's...
Yeah, you want to know what I watch? People score, because I'm a big fan of it. If I wanted to sit around for 3 hours and not watch people score, I'd take you to a bar.
Really? When?
Bow!
Wow.
Come at the king, you best not miss.
And
I've been called dumb 2 times in 2 days.
I'm always a big fan of self-deprecating humor, and even if my wife was in the bar, that's probably the case. Yeah. I always know I got a good one when I can make Jeremy laugh, because he doesn't laugh at a whole lot. Because he doesn't enjoy joy in his life, and that's why he's against baseball, because baseball is all about joy. Yes, I mean, I think that the Padres have put themselves in the conversation out in the National League, and I don't know how they're going to do the playoffs. Hell, they still don't know how they're going to do the playoffs.
Because baseball.
There it was. They're talking the bubble ideas. They might have one in California and a couple down in Texas, and who knows what we're going to do. For all of the people that said we would not get to this point, for Buster Olney, who said that there was a 0% chance that we would finish out this season. I get it. We're not there yet. We're at the halfway point. But I think everybody feels pretty damn good about this thing. You had the rocky start with the, I don't know, I guess I shouldn't use the word rocky since there is a team named Rocky, but you had the rough start to the season with the Marlins having to be shut down and the Cardinals having to be shut down. Now they've got the schedules all fixed out. They've got double headers all over the place for those teams to try to get them caught up. And now you have a straight-on push to the playoffs for the next month. You have all teams still viable in the playoff race in the National League, all except for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Whoever it was early in the whoever it was early in the season that was commenting and said, "What about my Pirates?" I told you this was going to happen. This is exactly what I told you was going to happen. Yes, mathematically every team in the National League is in the race for the playoffs. And I think it's gonna be one of the most dramatic finishes to a season that we've ever seen. But yeah, F you, Buster. That's all I gotta say.
Holy God!
What?
Kurt Brown just said baseball's handled COVID better than any other sport. 3 letters for you: NBA. That's the end of that conversation.
That's a bold statement, a bold yet untrue statement.
Yeah, 100%. The NBA hasn't missed not one game. The NBA did this completely right. Mm-hmm. And you're talking, and literally this is coming from the person that is the least scared of this virus of any person on earth. The NBA handled this better than anybody. The Major League Baseball has far beaten my expectations. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say they haven't.
Yes. Prove me wrong. You only have to look at this. The recent schedule. There's another game that's been postponed. The A's just postponed a game because of COVID.
I think the NFL is going to. I think the biggest problem for Major League Baseball is the NFL is going to show that you don't have to be in a bubble for this to work. Mm-hmm. Because they've already. Did you see the story from the NFL yesterday? The memo that came out from Goodell. They now have I don't know if it's a quick resolve test. Devin can probably answer this better than I can. If there's a false negative on Saturday, because we've talked about fantasy football things and all that, if there's a false positive on Saturday, and they do whatever this process is, the negative will come before kickoff, and that guy will still be eligible to play.
Nice. All right. So we're not going to have a situation where we have. What was it? Which team? I can't remember which team it was. One of them ended up with like 7 false positives. They had to shut down and then found out, no, we actually had nothing to fear in that case. Yeah, I don't think baseball has handled this the best. The NBA absolutely has. The NHL has handled it properly.
Frankly, I think they've all done fine. I don't look at anybody and go, wow, you really fucked that up.
I mean, Major League Baseball is the closest to that argument.
And they're still playing, aren't they?
They are still playing, but they had that major hiccup at the beginning with the Marlins and the Cardinals. I mean, when you have two teams that have to miss 2 weeks of the season, and then you have to go back. But
a season like this is like a parlay bet. You're either all right or you're all wrong. There's no in between. As long as they keep playing games, you're fine. And I think we all know how hard it is for me to give props to baseball. Apparently as hard as it is for Kurt Brown to give props to the NBA, which I can respect.
Right. I can definitely understand that. Also along the COVID lines, of course, the shutdown in the Big Ten, they decided to cancel the fall season, and they went in search, others went in search of information. We need to know more about this decision. 8 Nebraska players filed a lawsuit. As part of that lawsuit, they demanded to know what the official total was on the vote to finish to postpone the season. They also wanted all the meetings and video recordings and anything else of the meetings that were had. I haven't heard anything about that stuff coming out, but as part of this lawsuit, the Big Ten has now turned over an accounting of the vote that occurred. Apparently, it was 11-3. And it was Nebraska, Iowa, and Ohio State that voted against canceling the season.
The only way I would believe this vote any less is if Kamala Harris said it. That's the only way I could have believed this any less than... you've got notes of a meeting that 2 weeks ago you said didn't happen.
Yeah.
How Democrat of you. You have notes of some shit that you swore didn't happen. which means you were either lying here or you're lying here. There's a lie here somewhere.
Right. Kind of like the whole weapons of mass destruction thing, right? Your boys were in on that.
Oh. They were there. I still maintain that.
I still maintain they were there. 11-3 was the vote, and
hey, you just keep
part of this.
You're sitting here running your mouth about something we didn't find. We've been looking for Joe Biden's brain like it was the Wizard of Oz for 6 months, and ain't nobody found that shit yet.
Yeah, but at least his sense of smell is intact.
Yeah,
we know he doesn't have COVID.
Yeah, he's like a Doberman. Just let him get your scent. He won't bite you if he has your scent.
But as part of this, there is growing speculation about what the Big Ten's going to do for the season.
I'm still telling you, I won't be. And yes, I have now heard this from somebody that knows way more than I do.
Okay.
I won't be shocked if they're involved in the playoff.
So they're going to figure out a way to start sometime in October, sometime in November, and get it done.
I firmly believe it. I believe it more now than I've ever believed it before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Big Ten's timeline has gone from March to January to Thanksgiving to October in a week.
Right. No,
They start in October, they will still find a way to be involved in the playoff. You mark my words.
Even with all of that news, though, it still leaves the big problem of going back on what you said and what your the commissioner already laid down the line. Kevin Warren drew the line in the sand and said, we will not be revisiting this. And when the news came out that they were thinking about moving up the season to Thanksgiving and then October, I feel like there are forces within the Big Ten that are now doubling down and trying to combat those leaks that are coming out.
Yeah, hey, Kevin Warren, that's revisiting it.
You're not lying.
I mean, I could tell you I'm going to fly around this room until when the rubber meets the road. No, I'm not.
Right.
And the backlash of this made it really easy and made it really predictable that there would be a reanalyzing of what we were going to do.
Mm-hmm. I still feel like they cannot do it with him intact. They cannot do it with Kevin Warren still there. Because at that point, he loses all authority. He loses all control. If they go back on what Kevin Warren said, as we will not be revisiting this, then he is no longer, now he's just figurehead with no voice. Because anything he says from there on, nobody can take to heart.
Let me ask you a question. With the way that the reaction happened to that, what exactly was going to preclude him from being a figurehead with no voice? Because he was either going to lose his constituency, which is the fan base, or he was going to lose the presidency. One way or the other, you've lost a very integral part to you being able to do this job.
He's not losing the presidents. If he loses the presidents, he loses his job. And I still feel like the presidents are in lockstep with the original decision.
I don't.
Because, well, now they have come up with this. Where did this come from? What, do you think that Kevin Warren just put this paperwork together by himself and no one else is included in it?
I'm not going the conspiracy route, but I'm telling you right now, the backlash on this, have you noticed no presidents jumped up to say, hey, yeah, that's what I did?
Yeah.
Notice that?
Yeah.
You know why? Because they know at some point the athletic director, when programs start getting cut, is going to go ask the damn president.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're not going, oh, yeah, that's what I did. I mean, it's coming, and they know it, which is why they're going to try to distance themselves from this decision as much as they can.
Yeah.
But Kevin Warren looks like Tom Hanks in Castaway at this point. He's going to start talking to a blood-soaked volleyball before this is all said and done.
He's all out there on the island
because he's
himself.
Just all by himself.
Yep. Again,
until one person runs to his defense, I'm going to keep saying, I take every word that comes out of that man's mouth with a grain of salt.
I said it at the beginning of this whole thing, and I'll continue to say it. I don't see a way that they can make this decision. If it does happen, I'm not saying it won't happen, but if they make this decision, they can't do it with him. They can't do it with Kevin Warren.
Disagree.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
In
all reality, I think if they do make this decision, it makes it more likely that he keeps his job. Because at some point, the presidents and the ADs and the coaches are going to go, motherfucker, you don't have the power here. It's just like Greg Sankey in the SEC. Who's the most powerful guy in the SEC? You think it's Greg Sankey? Because I'll laugh at you if you say that.
Yeah.
No, he gets his voice from Nick Saban and Gus Malzahn and Kirby Smart and guys like that, because those are the figureheads of the conference. They're the highest paid guys for a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's who they listen to. Mm-hmm. Because that's where all the money comes from.
I don't know.
You're a figurehead. That's what you are. And Greg Sankey and John Swofford have both done that immaculately over the years.
But they haven't. But that's the thing. The commissioner of the Big Ten never has been.
Jim Delaney was a fantastic commissioner.
Right, but he wasn't just a figurehead.
He was a figurehead.
But he wasn't.
He was 100% a figurehead.
But what I'm saying, he wasn't just a figurehead.
He
wasn't some guy that out
just
there just ran his mouth.
He was 100% just a figurehead. He was a really smart figurehead. But if you think that Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State weren't pulling the strings on Jim Delaney, you're out of your mind. That's why that's now it has such a good football TV deal. That's why the revenues are up, is because Jim Delaney looked at the football guys and went, how do we make money? Mm. But Kevin Warren can't do that because he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Just like Larry Scott, which is why the Pac-12's fucking irrelevant. Because since the minute Larry Scott took over, he's done everything in his power to keep them that way. Because he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he's not. That's why the SEC makes this much money and the Pac-12 makes this much money, and it'll stay that way until something changes.
I don't think you give Jim Delaney enough due for the power that his voice has.
Jim Delaney, John Swofford, and Greg Sankey are the three best commissioners we've had in college sports, and they're probably the three smartest guys. Mm-hmm. But if you think that those strings weren't being pulled by the decision makers in football, you're out of your mind.
Well, of course they are. I mean, that's how it works.
And in the ACC, you have the basketball guys too.
But you never reveal behind that curtain. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that Jim Delaney listened to the football people. Kevin Warren thinks he's the smartest fucking guy in the room, no matter what room he walks into. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to ultimately cost the Big Ten, unless he figures out where he belongs in the pantheon of this whole decision-making process.
The unemployment line. That's where he belongs.
That's 100% where he belongs. And see, here's the thing. He stepped out of line with them, and nobody's come to save him. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yep.
Oh, the presidents agreed. Okay. The presidents are the presidents of the university. Mm-hmm. When they start cutting Title IX sports and they get backlash, guess who they're going to turn that shit on? I'll give you one guess. Kevin Warren made the decision. Mm-hmm. That's why nobody jumps up to say, "Oh, I'm with him," because then you're going to catch the heat. This is how politics work. Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't.
Bernie, I'm not shocked that Bernie Bro over here doesn't understand that. But
what does that have to do with anything?
Socialism. I want to take those pokes any opportunity I get.
Whatever. Check out the Sportsocracy on all of the social medias at the Sportsocracy. Be sure to like it, share it, follow it, comment along with all of the videos, and what else do they need to do? Oh, check out the merch store. Merch store as well. Our cups are over there. We forgot them this morning.
Tell your friends. You bring your friends. We'll bring our friends. We can be friends.
Link to the merch store is in the description of this and every video that we do. We'll catch you again this afternoon at 3 o'clock on the radio side, ESPN Asheville. And you can catch it everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a good day.